Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to check in with you on this Thursday morning as we're finishing up Unit 4. Of course, this unit we're focusing on the themes of order and progress, thinking about how modernization and neocolonialism went hand in hand. So that is something to kind of take away as you're thinking about blog posts, as you're finishing up your responses to one another there, and as you write your journal entries. Um, how and why did those two themes go together? Of course, they're separate chapters in the Chasteen reading, but they cover and overlap in chronology quite a lot. So what about the impulse to modernize and industrialize invited new forms of colonialism into Latin America from outside? Um, why do those things go hand in hand? And what does that tell us about the nature of how modernization, new technologies, and industrialization are kind of spread throughout the world? Also, as we're finishing up our blog posts for this week, of course, most of you have already posted your initial work to the blog. Now you need to make sure that you respond to at least one other person's post in the comments there on the blog. Also, as we're thinking about what makes a source credible on the internet, excuse me, I just had a couple of ideas that I wanted to throw out as we start to talk to each other more about the posts that we made. I saw a lot of us posting the idea that, of course, Wikipedia is not a credible source. And I think there are a number of reasons to be certainly suspicious of Wikipedia. We don't know exactly who wrote it because it's been crowdsourced. We don't always have all of the proper citations, and usually that's noted in the post. Sometimes we don't have the element of expert interpretation of a given topic as well. However, what might Wikipedia be good for? And how can we kind of think about the information that's provided there so that we can do our own evaluation of whether or not it's credible? Also, sometimes it's really easy to dismiss out of hand .com websites, .com extensions. That's something that's mentioned in the readings that I assigned to you, and that's something that we kind of automatically go to. .com is, excuse me, I apologize for my little bit of stuffiness, that a .com is automatically less credible than a .edu or a .gov, for example. But all of them can kind of have their strengths and their weaknesses. We just have to realize what those strengths and weaknesses are. As historians study documents that come from the past, and we read some of these in the Wood reading this week, and that was what we focused our reading worksheet on this time around. As historians try to interpret documents from the past, they have to deal with imperfect sources. They have to deal with sources that sometimes outright lie. Sometimes it's just that they're presenting certain perspectives and ignoring or even attempting to erase others. But that doesn't mean that we don't necessarily want to know what they're saying. That does mean we want to be critical of them and try to figure out what is it that we can take away from this? What can I learn by thinking about what this author isn't telling me? So it might be helpful to apply some of those ideas as well as we look to sources online. How can we tell what kinds of facts, what are the strengths of a given online source, and how can we be critical of the potential weaknesses of that source? And I phrased all of this in questions so that we can think about this as we talk to one another on the blog. Lastly, for today, for this announcement, sorry about that. My computer keeps cutting out for some reason, and I apologize for the extra sound here in Starbucks. I'm trying to get some work done between working out, taking the kids to school, and then going to the office, so here I am. But my last thing I did want to say here is that I had the opportunity to do a review of a new edition of the Wood Reader. There's going to be a new author, or editor I should say, brought on board named Anna Alexander, who I've met a few times and who does excellent work on the history of Mexico and the environment. So she's going to be adding some new aspects to that reader. One of the things they're going to do as well that I've posted critiques about to them before is they're going to distribute women's perspectives throughout the entire book rather than having a chapter that's just dedicated to women in social change or whatever it's called. currently. But what I wanted to ask of you is if you have any ideas of things that you think could be better or more helpful with the Wood book, the way that it's put together, kinds of questions that are asked, that sort of thing, please let me know so that I can include that in the feedback that I'll be providing to the authors and the publisher. Otherwise, within the next couple of days, I will be providing feedback on your reading worksheets. I look forward to rounding out our discussion of Order in Progress and moving on to Unit 5 with all of you.